And I think we are live. So let me just
see we are.
Yes, we are. All right, let's just wait a couple more seconds.
Live TV, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
Live TV, well, you can say anything and it will be used against you. That's the whole point of the live television, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't mention the 3 letters.
All right.
CR7.
Unfortunately, we have to. All right, my friends, welcome to this week's Juve Therapy Session. Of course, my name is Roman, and welcome to this channel. Smash a like on this video, of course, and subscribe if you haven't already. I have with me Max today and Graeme. Guys, say hello to the world.
Hey there, it's nice to be here. Nice to see you guys.
Good to be back.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Good. And let's see, I think Adam is already in the chat. Today is Serie A debut of the brand new team called Toro Merda. Basically, yes, the new logo for Inter, yes, indeed. Or Merda, as I like to call it. But before we go into the footballing stuff, present day, we did a little game last time with my good friends Mason and Daniel. Daniel will be joining us a bit later today as well. But this game I called Back in Time. So what we do, we're going to take a look at 5 things that happened in the past, key moments, and I want you to tell me your first reaction when you saw that happen at that time, of course. Because you know the consequences of that action now, but at that time there were maybe some different thoughts about what was going on that day. So let's go. We will start with the number 1. Let's see if I can find it. Boom. So
yeah.
This was the first picture which at least I saw of the new logo back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And well, Max, let's start off with you. Your initial reaction when this happened, and of course it was more of a turn towards the more commercial future. But what did you think about that move and the logo, of course?
I think when I saw this picture the first time, the first thing I needed to do is take a long walk with myself to actually realize what I think about this, because I had such a mishmash of emotions. Because on one side, I'm always for progressive ideas. I'm always for something new. And I know how difficult it is to let go of something that's very dear. Wait, where is it? Here it is. That's very dear to your heart. Yeah. But I felt that it's not as big of a deal in the end as it was portrayed to be. I think so many things changed about the club, and I found in the end comfort about it, because now when I see the old logo, now I think, I think of Del Piero, I think of some old times and nothing. And since then, so many things have changed and are different, and now I associate this with this new era logo. So my first reaction was not as negative as I thought it would be. But I was like, I need time to think about this.
Graeme, what do you think about the logo?
I don't mind it now. At the time, it was I wasn't outraged about it. I was disappointed, which is probably worse. It was such a contrast from when we changed to the previous logo. I believe it was 2004. That was when we made the last change. And when we changed over to the previous badge, I loved it. I thought the design was great. I was really, really a fan of it. So to see that disappear and be replaced by, this J or, whatever it is, I was just so disappointed. I was like, man, they had such a cool football badge, and now we've just got, this logo. I knew why we were doing it. It's all about branding, merchandising, and taking the next step. But I was just disappointed, but I don't mind it now. It's like everything in life. You become used to it, and then you don't mind it.
Yeah, and of course, when this happened, we all thought like the part of our heart was just ripped out, at that time, because this is something unusual. Nobody's done this before, and we're going into unknown territory. But at the end, it looks you get more and more used to it, I guess.
Actually, everything that I read about it made sense. I can be personally outraged that something that was very dear to me was removed. Of course, it's everybody's right. But if you really dig deep into it and see what's behind all of it and the reasoning behind it, and if you even analyze the logo itself in detail, it's actually very clever. And considering the increase in revenue and some things and good moves that the management has been making in the last years, obviously this made an impact. So they were right.
Yeah, interesting. So we'll see. And of course, this season they even cut out this Juventus. The name itself is only the logo, basically. As if you can see on the Graham's away shirt, which he's wearing. I don't know if we can enlarge it. Yeah, there we go. It's just the logo. There is no Juve on top of it.
No.
So there we go.
But that's also a sign of progress. And I know it sounds stupid because obviously in the beginning they had to put Juventus above the J so that people, when they see a J, they would know what it is. But obviously the marketing team has now estimated that even without the writing Juventus above it, the symbol itself became the badge itself became recognizable, that you already now know what it is. So it's also from a marketing standpoint of view, a progress.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Data Culture Boy says he wasn't a big fan of this either, but now he can understand why they moved in that direction. So yes. All right, moving on to number 2.
Let's see what you got for us.
Let's see. So number 2. Okay, prepare yourselves.
Okay, I'm scared. Oh, look at that.
Why? Oh, man.
So, yeah, well, we're not, it's getting better later. Just you wait.
This is just Roman being jealous because it's so cold at where he is. Now he's showing us these winter pictures so that we freeze our balls off. Emotionally and physically.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm crazy. Yeah, this is just making sense. Turkey and snow, it just doesn't make any sense, just like this picture at all. Oof. Yeah, Graeme, let's start with you. When this happened, your initial thoughts? Well, of course, before we needed to reschedule.
Okay, so during the original game, I thought it was cool because I'm sitting watching it and then the snow starts coming down and it starts getting heavier and I'm like, oh, this is a change. You don't really see that happening many times. I mean, I've only been to Turkey once. I don't know if one half is cold and the other half is boiling hot, but I wasn't expecting to see a torrential snow. But I thought they would come out at the interval. I think, was it during the second half it happened, I think. But I wasn't expecting it to get called off, and then the game gets called off, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? And then it got rescheduled for a midweek fix. I don't know, a couple of days later or something.
It was the day after, actually.
Was it? Well, I was at that's what it was. I was at college, and it kicked off when I was still in class, so I couldn't watch it. But I just assumed we weren't playing that badly, so we'll probably win the game. Completely oblivious to the state of the pitch, and then I check an update on the internet, and the next thing I see is we've been beaten, and I'm like, how the hell did we lose that game? What the hell? And then I went back and I saw highlights and I saw the state of the pitch, and I was like, why was that allowed to go ahead? There's no way a game of football should have been played on that potato pitch. They should have just delayed it for a week or something. And I think the original excuse was the game needs to be played because there's a draw taking place in a couple of days' time. But they could have just put Galatasaray or Juventus versus whoever and rescheduled it. But yeah, it was an absolute joke that it got played on that pitch in those conditions. So was not amused, put it that way.
Max, your feelings?
I don't know. Everything seemed so weird at the moment. I really thought we got this. I had this feeling the whole time, we got this. What can go wrong? What can possibly happen? I think we needed a point to go through. So it was a clear-cut situation for us. And then just, I don't know, I was so disappointed. Because in my head, there was no way this could happen. It couldn't. And now it took me really a couple of days to process the information, what exactly happened here. So yeah, it was very, very painful for me. I really expected a lot also from the team and from this campaign that we had, and to get everything crushed so unexpectedly. It's one of the harder blows, definitely, that we had. We had a lot of them last 10 years, but this one really stings.
Yeah, it really does. And of course, this is also, you could say that this is a typical Juve moment. We always leave it late. We always wait until the last moment, the last game. We could have, I don't remember this scenario that year, but we could have probably, qualified earlier and made this basically just a run out, just a friendly basically for us, because we were already going through. But this was a very important game. And of course, the day after we played, we lost. And if you look at those names, you have Marquisio there, you have Carlos Tevez. I mean, we had a good team.
And the game was in some weird time. I think something at 1 or something in the afternoon. It wasn't in the evening. It was some weird time. And I was like, what is this?
I think in that group,
exactly.
I think what really, if I remember this correctly, I think what really hurt us was drawing against Copenhagen. I mean, that's just something you don't expect to see happen. We drew at home against Galatasaray, we drew against Copenhagen, and Real Madrid were in the group as well. So, yeah, it just wasn't a good campaign. It was just so disappointing to go from, the rise of the previous season, beating Chelsea, getting to the quarterfinals on a return to the Champions League. And then, that, what happened.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Bentancur has joined us.
Gentlemen, how are you? What's going on?
Nice to see you, Daniel.
I see I came right at the most gloomiest time I could have.
Oh, it's going to get better.
That's true. That's very true.
Roman promised us that it gets worse. So, brace yourself.
I have a sneaky suspicion. I know what one of these is going to be, and I'm not going to be happy when I see it.
We'll see. Daniel,
yes,
your thoughts about whatever happened that day?
I remember this quite well, unfortunately. I know it was just an ugly match. We got dominated. I believe Wesley Sneijder killed us a couple times. It was just a defensive, I guess, disaster, like the weather, I guess you could put it down. That was unfortunate. Luckily, we've had some better times since then. So hopefully this year it doesn't turn out much like the same this year when we hopefully we can go through in Champions League.
Yeah, that was a sad day for all of us. Irish Macbeth just joined the chat, just like you did, Daniel, and this is the first image he sees. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry, but this is our past, and hopefully not the future.
Yeah.
This is like welcoming somebody in your home and there's a severed head at the entrance and you're like, oh, holy shit, I don't have to see this.
I wish it was. At least you can this is something you can remove, but
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's see if I can find number 3 for you, my friends.
Oh, what is it gonna be?
This is a more pleasant viewing.
Okay.
we start with you, Daniel. Your thoughts when this happened?
Oh, well, this was a great day for everyone. One of the youngest top center back talents coming to join Juve. De Ligt has been pretty much everything that we expected, that was promised. Of course, the first few games with the handballs and the PKs against us, so we thought it was a little rough to start. But he's definitely, he's been a solid addition. He's been a leader since he's joined. So hopefully we can continue that for many years to come.
Yeah. Were you surprised, Graeme, that we signed Matthijs de Ligt?
Just came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it. He had that breakthrough season when unfortunately he scored against us to knock us out in the quarter-final stage. For Ajax, he performed very well during that campaign. I mean, Ajax, they played against Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, us, and this 19-year-old defender stood out like a sore thumb for all the good reasons. And then next thing I know, you expect him to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, the two big clubs in Spain, or England, the Premier League with all the money they've got. But we'd made the big signing of Cristiano Ronaldo the previous season, so I honestly didn't think we could afford him. And then out of nowhere, we just signed this kid, and I'm absolutely delighted, because one of my criticisms was always the aging backline, the aging defence. We had Barzagli, Chiellini, and Bonucci, and they were getting older every single season. I mean, Chiellini was on his last legs, and finally we brought in a young prospect that he didn't actually need that much time to get suited to the game, or there wasn't that much risk factor, because the guy's tested and proven internationally, Champions League, the lot. So I was absolutely delighted with the signing.
Yeah. That Calcio boy says a grande Mino, who is of course the agent for Matthijs de Ligt. Max, your thoughts on Matthijs de Ligt and his arrival?
Well, that game when they kicked out against Ajax, I was present at the stadium, unfortunately, to see firsthand how we got kicked out. But I remember watching the game, and I remember seeing de Ligt and saying to myself, holy crap, how big is this guy? Like, it's incredible that he is that big and that young and still very mobile and strong. And I was like, this is insane. Like, if you have a chance to get him, you need to get them, especially because it was going through my head the same thing that Graeme now just said. You have an aging defense. You have like Rugani, like one of your defense options. And like, we definitely needed somebody for really a long run. And in general, I didn't believe it, because especially every transfer period, we get served so much bullshit that, like, literally until you see this picture, you don't believe that it's happening. You are like, no way that that's going on. And when I saw I was totally on the hype train. I think in the last 10 years, I haven't been too often on the hype train, like when that there's a transfer incoming, and then you're like refreshing every 2 seconds, and being one of those people who are like wondering, oh, is the plane on the way, or, tracking flights and stuff. I did that maybe for Ronaldo or for Pepito. It was very interesting because that was also a big deal. And I definitely did for him. Like, I cheered, like, of all the names that appeared in that transfer period, like, I cheered that de Ligt was the one. And I was absolutely ecstatic that this actually came true. Like, this is, I know everything that we've seeing now from him, I knew that we were getting this. I think everybody in Europe who follows football at least a little bit knows that he is definitely a generational talent. He definitely is one of them. So we are pretty lucky to get this big coup.
How long do you think he will stay, Daniel?
Hopefully for the foreseeable future. I see now, seeing with the issues with Barca and their finances, Madrid would still be an option, but I don't see Barca being one for a very long time. And I think those would probably be the two places he would consider going. I don't know if he has much interest in the EPL. I'm sure, everyone does at some point. But I think right now Juve is his best option for the next little while, learning from the likes of, Chiellini and Bonucci, like we've mentioned. And I'd like to see him hopefully for the next 4 or 5 years, if not longer. He's got a long career ahead of him, and he's only going to get better, I think. So hopefully he stays.
Yeah, definitely. And his physique, guys, we haven't talked much about it, but he is a monster. He is a huge guy, and his thighs are bigger than, well, my head. It's absolutely insane. So yes, Juve Mon Amour says De Ligt was the best signing for Juve in years. A strong player with lots of qualities. Yes, he is indeed. All right, Gotnal is also there, and Alberto. Guys, if you want to ask these guys anything, smash your question in the chat. I will try to answer that, of course. As you'll know, of course, the Rodrigo Bentancur will not be playing Roma game tomorrow, so that's why he's with me tonight. I got to do this, Daniel, because you got a lot of buzz around yourself when.
No problem. I'll take it. He's not a bad-looking guy, so it's all good.
All right, number 4. This is a bit more interesting.
Interesting means heartbreaking. Oh, there we go.
All right, Max, let's start with you. Your first thoughts when this was official?
No, I was in denial when it was only a rumor, and I continue to be in denial basically for the whole last season. I never came to terms with this. Never. Like, if there's one jersey that I'm for sure not sad I skipped on, it's this one. I just don't feel it at all. Nothing about it like made any emotions to me that I'm like, trying, like I said for the emblem, like I was thinking, I always try to find some reasoning behind it. There was none for this one. And that cheap shot, we are the stripes. No, fuck off. Like, really, we are the stripes, really? Like, that's the story you're pitching me. So I have to bring a friend who has the same shitty jersey to make it work. Like, is that what we're supposed to do? No, thank you. Like, so I was completely out, and I was outraged. I have to tell you something. When we signed, when Adidas, and that was something I think even over a year before our Nike contract expired, I celebrated that day like it was my fucking birthday. I was so happy because I know that they have amazing shirts, amazing tracks, everything. They got everything great sports equipment, and I knew there was going to be an amazing merch. And the first 2 years, we were like, okay, this is not bad, this is good, some good jerseys. As the years progressed, like, this was just the top of disaster. Like, I've literally, if I could, I would slap the designer in the face. Like, if I could have one wish, I would do that. Like, this is just terrible for me.
You have the away version of that one, Daniel, on yours. Is it correct? Is it from that year? I think it is.
I believe this one I'm wearing is a couple years older. I didn't even bother getting that one. Yeah, just to agree.
New season.
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
Yes. So what you think about this one, Daniel?
No, I didn't like it. I didn't buy it. I'm looking to order the one actually Graham's wearing right now. But still no luck trying to get it to come all the way to Canada for a reasonable price. So I'm still waiting, unfortunately.
Yeah. This doesn't look good. And of course we have Adam says that Max, you are spot on. I usually get used to a shirt, but this one he never did, not even as a third option. And Boomburst Log says this jersey was not bad. Yes, indeed. They did this for the market in an effort to not look like a referee's shirt, but this was anti-Juventus, says Irish Macbeth. Yes, that's true. But Graeme, you have this one.
Yeah, because I'm a gullible shirt collector, so I had to buy it. But I mean, just looking at it, I mean, why the hell is the Scudetto patch not in the middle to begin with? I mean, that just irked me. Like, I couldn't grasp my head around that, because we'd done that for 17-18 season, where it was like the polo shirt, but it was the black and white stripes. but because it was a buttoned collar, they couldn't have it in the middle.
Yeah.
So that made sense. But there's no buttons or anything on this one. It just looked so random and out of place. And like, it instantly reminded me of like, maybe we're talking a long time ago, like 2005 or something, where football clubs released there was a special kit, anti-racism kit, and it was exactly like that, except it didn't have the pink stripe.
Yes.
It's just like black and white. It instantly reminded me of that, and I went, holy shit, we have the anti-racism kit after all these years. Where did stripes go? Why is there no stripes? I mean, it looks like something. It looks like a third or a fourth kit, but the home kit, nah. If it was, it was an away kit or a third kit, whatever, you can deal with that. But for the home kit, no, you can't mess around with the stripes. Not like that.
No.
The only thing that could have made this jersey worse is if they took this Jeep and just put it a little bit on the left, that it's not symmetrical, so that your OCD internal can just kill you. Like, that's the only thing that could like make the thing worse.
Now that you've said that now I remember. I remember thinking they got the Jeep logo bang on correct. It looks gorgeous with the Jeep logo, and they fucked up the rest of the shirt. Because the previous season we had the H, the Jeep block and the two stripes. It looked like a giant H on the shirt. And then we finally got rid of the Jeep block, but they screwed up the rest of the shirt.
It doesn't look good, yeah. But it is what it is. It is our jersey, at least for last year. Cynthia says need the classic black and white stripes back. They will be back next season by the rumors of it. So the rumors are that the home and away kit look fire. However, the third kit is it's a vomit fest. I think it looks awful. But
and judging by our luck, they're gonna play most of the season in that one.
Yeah, of course, just to promote the crap. Yeah, indeed. All right, moving on to the last one, number 5, and this one, I think, you prepare yourselves.
Uh-oh.
Does it begin with a C?
So, what were your thoughts when this happened?
Yeah.
Let's start with you, Daniel.
After the rumors, with the falling out with Allegri and everything, I wasn't that surprised. I was more surprised it was in Milan and not elsewhere, because apparently, the rumor said he had suitors, blah, 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 but he only wanted to go to Milan, this, that, and whatever. It was kind of shocking that he ended up there. You know what? I wish we left him there, honestly, unfortunately. But I guess you can't tell the future, right? So, but yeah, it was a whole weird summer with him leaving and the argument after the Champions League final, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, he didn't stay there longer. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Max, if you are Bonucci at Juve, and you're playing for Juve, and then what makes you make that decision to go to a rival? Milan is Milan. It's not at that day. They weren't really a rival. They were very inferior to us. But still, he goes to a big club in Italy from Juve. Does it make any sense to you? Can you defend Bonucci in some way?
Well, if I understood good at the time, and that's the only thing that made sense for me, is that his family didn't want to leave Italy. He was very comfortable in Italy, and they wanted to settle there. Probably there were no other suitors from Italy for him, so he just took basically the only opportunity he got, plus Juve got very good money for him. So overall, it was a pretty good deal for everybody. Even when I saw this transfer coming in the first time, my first reaction was, oh, damn, that's a shame. He could have been a legend. He was like, also a fan favorite. He just spit on that. He just pissed on his own jersey. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Is that what you want? Like, I had this feeling from the whole saga that was before. It's like, kid who wants to move out of the house because he thinks he's capable to do something on his own. And then the first time he's left actually to do something by himself. It turns out into a damn disaster, because the first time he was supposed to lead this defense, he got the captain's armband. He was supposed to be the prodigy, the big defender Italian. And then the first time there's no Chiellini around or Barzagli to pick up after his ass, then, oh, look what happened. You get all those blunders that we're like having funny home videos now, collage made out of. So like, and what's craziest for me, it's like, fine, no problem. I was happy in the end, especially when I saw how he performed in Milan. I was like, we were so damn lucky that we got so much money for this. Like, this is insane. And then we bring him back. Like, what? Like, what? He had a terrible season. I would understand if he had a magnificent season. He was brilliant. He was on his knees begging to come back, but he was still having a great time. No, he got exposed for what he is and how he plays and how he unreliable is, and still you bring him back for the same money.
Mhm.
And that was just for me, no. And the whole thing in front of us, and no respect for the people who cheered your name and all. No, you can, as far as I'm concerned, he's crossed off of my list. Of course, I want him to perform as best as possible, because it's in our interest that he plays as best as possible. But regarding everything else, no, just bye-bye.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in the chat said that they hope that he'd stay there, like yourselves, and never returned. But he did return, Graeme. And do you think it's he's been exposed because Barzagli and Chiellini were no longer there at Milan? And of course, Barzagli retired not so late, not so many days after he returned, I think, actually. So I don't know. Was he exposed?
It's a very strange one. It's really difficult to put your finger on one answer, because, like, during his first run with us, he looked brilliant. I mean, people talked about him as one of the best defenders in football, and he stood out for all the right reasons amongst Barzagli and Chiellini. Like, whenever you were talking about the Juventus defence, you spoke about Chiellini and Bonucci. Nothing wrong with Barzagli. Barzagli was world class, but like, he was rather underappreciated out of the three of them. And then, he goes to Milan. He has an absolute stinker with them. And then you're thinking, oh yeah, Chiellini and Barzagli were carrying your bags, mate. You are nothing but an average defender. And then he comes back, and Barzagli's still with the club, I believe. Chiellini's still playing. And he still looks like shit. So it's like, well, what the hell happened? Because you've still got your defensive partner Chiellini beside you, and you're still playing like Milan version of Bonucci. And then, like, this season, I believe we've played with a back three for most of it, and he still doesn't look like the same player. So I don't know what the hell happened with him. I mean, maybe it was just a good run of form. We had a good run for a couple of years out of him, and maybe once he reached 30, he started declining. I don't know, but it was a weird one. I mean, I just remember being so shocked at the time. Like, I remember it felt like it happened in the space of a day. Like, the rumour came out and you read it and you're like, oh yeah, that's just a bullshit transfer rumour.
That was pretty quick one, yeah.
And then you wake up the following morning and it's official, and he's like, I'm hungry. And it's like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hungry every day, but I don't go cheer for Milan because of it.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not exactly
No, he wasn't. But he was not a good signing for them. But for us, it was a 40 million that we got, and then we just wasted them the next season. Like Max said, it's just we basically returned the favor. So it was very, very weird one. But it is what it is, and we just have to hope that he plays to his best ability for our sake. All right, so there we go. Those were five nice ones from back in the day. Of course, there'll be more next week as well. All right, guys, we have to talk about whose birthday it is today. If you're thinking that we're going to celebrate Cristiano's birthday, you are sorely mistaken. Because it is all about Carlos Tevez. No, I'm joking. Happy birthday to Carlos Tevez, of course. But there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Did you like Tevez back in the day, Max?
Oh, Carlitos. Oh, such nice memories from this guy. I remember how outraged I was that they gave him a number 10. Oh my God, how pissed I was. Like, how can you just give this number to anybody? But he lived up to it. He really did. Such energy and grinta. He, like, the attitude, everything. He just was the guy who fit, who gave exactly what we needed from him. And so much respect for Apache.
Do you think that he deserved the number 10, Daniel?
When he first came, I was a little concerned, like Max was as well. I was like, he didn't end things well in Man City, and people weren't sure if he could still play, but blah blah blah. But he came and he shocked me, that's for sure, because I wasn't really sure what we were going to expect, what to get from him. But some of the goals he scored, you remember? I think there was the one where he practically went end to end. Again, I think it was against Sassuolo, if I'm not mistaken. The rocket he scored against.
I think.
Was it Parma? Yeah, okay. It was against Parma. Yeah.
Another rocket against Milan, a couple against Dortmund in the Champions League. Like, he was clinical. He was always came clutch, and honestly, like, I wish he didn't leave as early as he did. I wish he stuck around for another year or two, and he certainly would have helped. We haven't really replaced him.
Imagine Tevez being the tutor of Dybala, because next season Dybala came. Two Argentinians, like,
very similar. Yeah.
I mean, from a physical standpoint, Dybala was never as strong on his feet as Tevez was, but there's so many things that I'm sure Tevez could have learned Dybala, especially in his first year at Juve.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would have been nice to see. That's for sure. It was unfortunate that he left as quick as he did.
Yeah, Carlos was a good guy, and he was actually one of those who, sent us to the Champions League final in the first season. Almost, he was one of those guys who really were on form in the Champions League as well. And I remember his performance against Dortmund. I think it was away even. He was insane. So yeah, one of our absolutely favorite players. Carlos Tevez, Graeme, is. Do you think he is the last one of those true grinta players up front? Because now we don't see them much anymore. And not so many workers. We have Dybala, of course, who is not he's not the grinta kind of player. Neither is Cristiano. Neither is Morata. Is it like this is why, because he's such a fan favorite, because he had grinta?
I mean, yeah, it was just, you don't really see that many forwards like with that attitude going around nowadays. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm struggling to think of like current day players in Europe right now. I think the closest you had was Diego Costa. I mean, he's on the way out now. You know what I mean? I don't even think he has a club right now. But that type of mentality where, like, they'll just keep going, they'll niggle away at defenders, and then they just won't give up, and they'll keep running at the back line as well. And you don't really see that much anymore. I mean, you don't see that from Dybala as much. I mean, Dybala, like you were saying, he's not got the same frame as Carlos Tevez. But I mean, I wasn't really happy with the signing to begin with, because like you were touching on, when he left Man City, the last thing that happened with him was if he had a falling out with Mancini, and he sauntered off to Argentina to play golf. And then we sign him, and I'm like, oh my God, what have we done? It's like, we're signing this guy, he's going to be an issue, he's going to be a problem. And I've got a friend that's a Man City fan, and once we signed Tevez, he said, you're going to love him. And I went, what, am I going to love him when he goes away and plays golf? He's like, no, he's going to score goals for you. And he just scored from the get-go. You know what I mean? It was such a shame it was only 2 seasons, but that's the type of striker you want. Like, his final season, he was so prolific for us. I mean, he was just firing goals for fun. And then, of course, the celebration against Fiorentina with the machine gun. It wasn't a good result in the end, but at the time it was fun.
Yeah. And it was a bargain as well, Daniel.
Yeah.
It was 9 million euros we paid for the guy, and wow.
Yeah, you pretty much got him for for very little. He was a guy who wanted out. They wanted him out, and you were thinking at the time, well, that seems low. Maybe he's not as the player we think he is. Maybe cause problems like Graeme mentioned. But we definitely won that deal, and it was unfortunate that he only stayed the 2 years.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and happy birthday to Cristiano, of course, 36 years of age. We cover Cristiano almost daily because we have to, otherwise we will be crucified on the social media. Now, let's see if he stays for next season. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think he will sign a new contract?
Yeah, I think he will.
You think so?
I think so.
It kind of makes sense at this point because I don't see, especially because of Corona time, any special high spending suitors for him. I don't see that he would be an easy take on for any club right now. Doesn't matter if they're Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City. Yes, somebody would say that Cristiano basically pays off himself, considering how much revenue he generates just by his image being at the club. But in general, I see him staying for another year. I think the Pirlo project pushed this. I think if Sarri stayed for a year, or if we were in a different situation coach-wise and project-wise, maybe he would consider going somewhere or doing something. But I think that he likes the direction in which this is going, and obviously he is capable of providing more and continuing his strong form even at the age of 36 now, and probably until 38 he can play easily. And he is just a freak of nature, and we are very lucky to have him. My only problem always has been that I never felt that the whole team on a game level benefited having him. It's like always the team who is struggling, and we wait for his brilliance, and then he does something, and then the teams, we still haven't seen him as this piece of a full puzzle. He's been always like this singular unit that does something or sometimes doesn't do anything. So when he doesn't do anything, everybody crucifies him. And when he does everything, then usually it's a very weird situation for him. But I like how Pirlo is putting things together. I think Pirlo needs a little bit more time for this. And yeah, I think maybe already at the end of this season and for sure the next season, things are going to be more cohesive.
Yeah, interesting. Daniel, Cristiano, if he resigns another contract, but down in wages, I think he needs to decrease his wages, or should he just stay where he is?
I was actually just going to touch on that. I think as much as we love to have him, I don't know if it's financially possible for us to keep supporting these wages. I know Max mentioned that he, through jersey sales and images, his image just being with the club brings in funds. But like with COVID times, paying him the same amount of money without hardly any money coming in, it's going to be tough to fix your other areas that need some work. So if you can somehow get him to stay for another year at a reduced wage, it would benefit the overall team and fix the midfield. If you want to bring in another fullback, it would just give you some options to play with, and I think that would be definitely better for not only for him but for the overall team.
Graeme, what's your thoughts on Cristiano?
I mean, it's a mixed bag with Cristiano Ronaldo, because as soon as you say anything negative, you get accused of being a hater or a Messi fanboy.
Yeah,
it's like there's only one team I support, and it's a football club. It's not a player. But anyway, he is good on the pitch. He does have his moments, but I think it would be very difficult to argue that we don't have the Cristiano Ronaldo that Real Madrid had. And we sure as hell don't have the Cristiano Ronaldo that Manchester United had. When he was at Man United, he had like scary pace. He got the ball and he could just run 100 miles an hour at defenders and scare the living daylights out of them. At Real Madrid, he was just an unstoppable goal scorer. He had world-class talent around him, and he was the finishing touch. He was like the cherry on the cake for that. and he would put the ball in the back of the net every single time. I mean, God knows he'd done it countless times when Juventus played Real Madrid. But when we got him in his mid-30s, and the way I see Cristiano Ronaldo right now, and this isn't an insult, I see him as more of just like a goal scorer, like a poacher. Like the amount of times you see Ronaldo run at a defender, the defender doesn't look too bothered because he knows he's not going to outdo him for pace. But he does have a wicked, powerful shot on him. But my only concern is, and it comes back to the wages, and that's just because of the current financial climate, not just in football, but like in the world in general. I mean, I'm not comparing our financial situation to the mess it is in Barcelona right now, but I find it very telling that we just had the January transfer window and there was nothing. There was nothing from anyone. There was no big names. There was no big transfers. There was nothing. I mean, they're Liverpool. I mean, they're one of the top clubs in England, and they couldn't afford to bring in a replacement for Van Dijk right now. You know, they brought in bargain basements, basically. So you have to look at that and think, well, how much money is there to actually play with these clubs? And then again, you take a look at Barcelona, and like they're in such a mess that someone leaked Lionel Messi's contract as if to say, look, this guy is on like 500 million or whatever it is. Yeah, this is why we're skint. And it just makes me think to myself, well, what's our current situation when we're pumping so much money into like the Ronaldo dream right now? Because Ronaldo was supposed to be the guy that came in, and I bought into it as well at the time. As soon as we signed Ronaldo, I was like, we're winning the treble. We're winning the Champions League. It's going to happen. And of course, it didn't happen. And then it got worse under Sarri. And then, you know, that's a 2-year window closed. You're probably only going to have another 2 years, I would say, with him. And then it's just going to disappear, I would say.
The thing is, when it comes to I heard this said once, and I completely agree with it. It says, don't buy a yacht unless you have money for 10 yachts. Yeah. So we, in general, bought Ronaldo, but we didn't create an adequate team around him. We had a team that was, in general, falling apart, that couldn't give any support for him. And we just brought him in, and we were like, oh, that's Cristiano. He'll solve everything by himself. Yeah, that's the guy who shoots with his left, with his right, who jumps high. He's going to do everything. And in general, if you look at the past 2-3 years, he does do everything. Like, we're so dependent on him that everything goes around him. But now, this season is the first time that he is actually starting to have a little bit of an attacking force around him, that he is not the person that needs to do it. Now you have McKennie who's jumping in. Now you've got Chiesa, who is like full of energy and everything. And Dybala was struggling this year, but we know what Dybala can do, and I'm sure that he's going to come back at some point. But he needs a very strong supporting cast. At Real Madrid, he was what he was, not only because he is as brilliant as he is, but Real Madrid players, like basically all 10 of them, are capable of scoring at any point. And that gives Cristiano a lot more space to be who he is, to do all sorts of flicks and tricks and have opening spaces and score however he wants. Here, it's basically all the teams close up. They know that if Ronaldo is stopped, that's already at least 60 to 70% chance that they're going to pull at least a point from that game. So it's become very, very predictable. And of course, some teams just can't do it because he is what he is. So I still think that we could get like glimpses of the previous Real Madrid Ronaldo, like you said, Graeme. But in order for this to happen, you need to build a team around him. You can't just, have things falling apart with Khedira Matuidi and just place Ronaldo in the middle of it and be like, oh, this is going to work. Hardly. It might work on muscles, but hardly.
I'm just not sure he's the same player he was when he was, high, late 20s, early 30s. I just think, like Graeme mentioned, he doesn't have the pace he used to. I just don't see him taking on 2-3 defenders at a time like he was capable of doing at Real. Although he did have a good supporting cast, there was times where he would just practically take on the whole team himself and do what he had to do. You don't see that anymore, and that like, it's not concerning because he can still score. When he's on, of course. But you just need to think, if you're going to pay him, your 60 million, you need him to play like he was, the Ronaldo of Real Madrid, or else you got to start like you mentioned, start building a better cast around him, and you're going to need those funds that he's taken up.
Yeah, and the thing with Cristiano also is that he continues to develop always. He was at Manchester United. If you could see the clips from his United days, it's not the same player. Absolutely not. They're two completely different players. And why? Because I think Cristiano also evolved as a player. He wasn't that great at heading the ball at Man United. Let's face it. He only started doing that for Real Madrid in his later stage of his career at Real Madrid. And then, of course, he started to be more of a striker rather than a winger, because he was playing as a winger for Man United, and then he switched off in order to become more and more a complete striker. And he even went to Serie A, of course, to evolve even more. And he was one of the first guys who said that upon arrival to the new league, Serie A is a harder place to score in rather than in La Liga. And that tells you something. When Cristiano, the GOAT, Ronaldo, says that it's hard to score in Serie A, it's easier to score in La Liga, it tells you something. But he chooses to go that way. He chooses to move from one place to another. He chooses to challenge himself. And this is why I think he is such a great player, and one of the greatest players of all time, because he continues to look for weaknesses to eliminate in his own way of playing. And of course, now he's 36, and I see limits with his play now. I see that he's not as quick as he used to be, but I still say that he is one of the most lethal players on the planet still, even though 36. But there is a change. There is a change in his game for sure.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, at this Juve team right now, sorry, buddy. At this Juve team right now, it's very important to have people like Cristiano in. Like, we're not paying 30 million a year only for his goals. His presence itself gives great value, especially because Juve is in this rejuvenation project where a lot of young, new, high talents are coming. And most of them are not champions. We can talk whatever we want, but Kulusevski is not a champion. Chiesa is not a champion. They have a potential to be one, but they need to be guided into this by people who have won everything that's possible. And that number of players is very important in our team. That's why they're extending Buffon every year. That's why they're thinking of keeping Chiellini another year. You need those people that can give this victory champion drive to the new kids that are coming. And I think that's also one of the main reasons why it's very important to have the likes of Cristiano, because and also the appeal of itself of him being there. You can't tell me that having Cristiano in the team didn't at least in a little bit influence De Ligt's decision to come. He did have it in his head. He could be like, yeah, Cristiano is there. I want to play with Cristiano, one of the best players ever. Why wouldn't I? So those are all those small details and things that you pay in these 30 million a year. And so far, I think that's been pretty worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. He's 36, and what more can you expect from Ronaldo? You can't expect him to always deliver like it is United or Madrid days. Just pass the ball to Ronaldo in the final third, says Chaku. Well, I have to say, we did so against, I don't remember who it was against, not so many weeks ago. I think it was last Serie A game, and he didn't do that well. So there we go. We cannot always rely on Cristiano, even. He is still, after all, a human being. So, and there we go. Also, other players need to step up, and I think it's also a good point in regards to guys like McKennie, Morata. They are dangerous now, so Cristiano cannot be the only one who can score goals, and also Chiesa. Which reminds me of Chiesa, who just got the Player of the Month award for January. Well deserved. And we'll see what happens with him in the future. And of course, we're going to talk about Gigi Buffon. Daniel, Gigi Buffon and his so-called comments. The first one was the blasphemous phrase against Parma. The second one was this one, offensive remark towards Lautaro Martinez, and Italian Football Federation are investigating Buffon for his remarks. I mean, what's up with that?
To me, it just seems stupid. Like I've played sports growing up, and you swear at your teammates, you swear at the opposition. Like you're going to start giving everyone fines and suspension because they're swearing. I think that's a little ridiculous. If the fans were in the stadium, no one would have heard anything, and then everyone just carries on with their day. I think they haven't made a decision on the Ibrahimovic and Lukaku fight or whatever you want to call it, but like they should be focusing on that rather than giving Buffon a hard time about swearing to whether if it was his teammate or Lautaro or just out loud, whatever. Like, does it really matter? It's not like he said anything derogatory or anything bad towards a particular person, right? You let up a goal, you're obviously going to be upset. It happens all the time.
But we do buy the referees, Graeme, don't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm actually amazed that stuff like this is managing to come out because we own Italian football, we own the referees. I mean, I'm surprised that people haven't figured out that we own every single freaking club in Italy by now. If you believe the conspiracy theories. But I mean, I find it ridiculous. I mean, there has been more attention on what Buffon has been saying than what happened in the Milan derby. I mean, I don't care what Buffon said. I mean, if I let in a crappy goal like he did against Merda, I'd be pissed off at myself too. I'd be swearing like, oh, for F's sake, F this, F that. But, swearing at myself should not be offensive. What is offensive, and I don't know about you guys, but if someone shouted at me, I'm going to fuck you and I'm going to fuck your wife too, I'd be more offended by that than anything I can say to myself. Yet there's more attention on Buffon than that. I mean, it tells you everything, okay? I mean, like, people think that we make this stuff up, but when there's more media attention on what Buffon's been saying than on Lukaku and Ibrahimovic, it tells you everything about Italian football, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality. That is the reality. Max, what do you think? Is it just media talk?
I don't know. Like, I'm reading all these news and everything, and any slander towards Buffon, I'm just like, come on, really? Like, is that how deep are we sinking? Like, really? It feels like because of Corona, like the Italian Federation needs some money, so they're like, oh, he said shit, punish him. Yeah, 20,000 euros for that. Like, I don't know. I don't see any reasoning behind this. I don't know if there's an agenda against Buffon because, remember also when with Oliver, with the whole situation, when he said something and then, his outburst, that wasn't also, for me, yes, he did have a heavy outburst, but in such the situation, just read the room. It's kind of obvious. You're burning from whatever is going on. Of course, you're going to say some things. You can't be that sensitive, especially, everybody wants, passion and fire in football. And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to fucking kill you. And you're like, no, wait. That's too much. Yeah, calm down. 20,000 euros. Fine. There you go. Just, I don't know. It doesn't seem normal to me like this right now, but it's also possible that these fines are also made pretty often, but just because it's Gigi Buffon, then that one kind of gets traction. They're not gonna make headlines because Lasagna said fuck you to a ball boy. Nobody cares about that. But when Gigi says something, then that already has has some weight.
It's the first story on the newspapers. Of course, when Gigi says something, he's gonna sell your paper. It's all about marketing. It's sad, but it's the reality, and of course, that's just the way it is. There's a question from Gotnaldo, completely different topic, but let's go to you, Daniel. So I'm gonna highlight this one. Which struggling player from top 3 leagues do you think can shine in Serie A? Like, for example, Mkhitaryan for Roma.
Oh,
that's actually a good question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Who's been struggling? I don't.
He has
know.
a suggestion of Donny van der Beek.
Oh yeah, he hasn't been playing much for Man United, from what I've heard. There was talk about him maybe going out on loan. I think he'd be a good option. So I'd take him at Juve for a depth midfielder. I haven't seen him enough to say exactly how good he is. I think maybe Man U thought they were getting something a little more productive, but then they brought in Bruno Fernandes, and that kind of changed everything as well. From La Liga, I don't like Madrid is struggling all around. So I would take, like Marcelo. I know he's in his mid-30s, but then again, he can't. As much as I like Alexandro and what he's done for us over the years, I just think he's starting to decline. I think we've seen it over the past year or two. But Marcelo is able to offer something completely different, especially going forward. I would have liked to see him at Juve. I don't think that's really a real possibility anymore, but just a thought. And that whole Ajax situation with Sebastian Haller, he was supposed to be their big money signing, and they left him off their European squad. I heard good things about him. Again, I didn't see him enough. He hardly played when he was in the EPL, but it's always good to have depth up front, and you never know, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You have any suggestions, Graeme?
Pretty sure Gareth Bale would do okay in Italy. I don't think there's that many golf courses for him though, but I mean, maybe football. But I'm just trying to think of struggling players. I mean, Gareth Bale's one. Eden Hazard at Real Madrid's another, but that's an injury issue, I believe. Is I think Sergio Ramos, but I don't know if that's if he's struggling or if that's just a contract issue. But I mean, yeah, players like that. I mean, like, once you hit a certain age, I mean, you can come to Italy because the pace is generally slower, and that's not a criticism. It's more tactical, but that doesn't make it, a worse-off league. I mean, we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo earlier. When he came to Italy, he quickly realised, damn, these defences can actually defend. You know what I mean? And it's because it's at a slower pace and they can get themselves into position and stuff. So I think, I think Gareth Bale, it would never happen, but like something like that, a player that needs to rediscover their former self.
Yeah, interesting. Question for you again, Daniel, or Mr. Bentancur. We're going to highlight it again. Which player would he like to play with? Pogba, Locatelli, or De Paul?
If I'm just picking one, I'm picking Locatelli, and I'm thinking as Bentancur here. So my only reason would be Locatelli because he can play as the regista. Which
no. I would like you to speak in Spanish, please.
Oh, gee, I'm gonna need a translator. Anyone know one? For me, it'd be Locatelli only because, as we know, Bentancur is not by trade a regista. He was kind of put in that position by Sarri, kept there by Pirlo. But I think he would be better, or maybe not even better, but I just want to see what he's like when he has a little more freedom and he's not really held back in front of the defense as the regista. So I think Locatelli is more suited for that role. That's how he's been playing. That's his preferred position. So in this case, it would allow both Artur or Bentancur, myself, a little more freedom to get involved in the attack, to pick out a better ball. And as we see, I myself make some very poor decisions in front of our goal and has cost some turnovers. So hopefully that would subside that, and it would allow Locatelli. Yeah, it would allow Locatelli to play in his preferred position, and I think it would overall help the team a little more than as much as I like Pogba and De Paul. They're a little more of an attacking, more of a box-to-box midfielder, which we don't have the likes of Pogba's talent, but we have similar players to that. If we bring in two, then sure, I would bring in Pogba, bring in De Paul, whichever one. I'd be fine with either one of them and Locatelli. So, but yeah, my preferred would be Locatelli first.
Pogba, just touching slightly on Pogba, Max. Do you want him back?
Well, like when it comes to these two, I was constantly on the De Paul hype train. I was always like more for the Paul. I always felt that he was just a player waiting to explode as soon as he goes into a club that, makes this possible for him. But then I saw Marchisio's tweet where he said that Locatelli is now grown up and mature and right time for him to join Juve. So who am I to question Marchisio, right? Like what Principino says, Principino's right. So I'm going to go with him this time. That's how easy it is to sway me.
Well, maybe we'll invite Claudio Marchisio on this show sometimes, and then he can see whatever he wants.
That would be a discussion, yeah.
That would be a discussion, yeah. What would be the first question you would ask Claudio Marchisio, Graeme, if he would join this chat?
First question to ask him, jeez, oh man. I would ask him like a generic question, like try and explain to me how it felt when you scored that goal against Merda in 2009-10 season. You know the one I'm talking about? I mean, that was a good goal. But, I mean, there's so many questions you could ask that guy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's.
I would probably ask him to tell us a story that we haven't read anywhere. Something from the, backstage. Something that happened maybe before the game. Some trivia.
Yeah. What happened in Cardiff?
Yeah, what happened at halftime? God damn it.
Jesus. I hope one day we actually do find out legitimately.
Yeah, we're gonna find out probably in Bonucci's autobiography or something.
It's gonna be completely opposite of Chiellini's biography.
Yeah. Of course, he's gonna stab everybody in the back and just write bullshit for 300 pages.
Indeed, yeah. All right, guys. We have a game tomorrow. It's Juve against Roma. Huge game. Rodrigo Bentancur is, of course, suspended, as well as Lorenzo Pellegrini for Roma, which is interesting. We got to discuss this a little bit, but it is very clear that Lorenzo Pellegrini is a loss for them. However, Rodrigo Bentancur, Bentancur, McKennie, and Arthur. This is the midfield. It looks like this is the strongest midfield that we have. Without Bentancur, what are we going to do? What do you think we should do?
Well, to be honest, I think it's in this situation pretty obvious. I think Rabiot is here the most natural player to take his place. To be honest, like at times, I know Bentancur has been great, but I still feel him a little bit raw on the field, like sometimes with the way he tackles. Like if he's having an off day, and that's not a good sign for us. So like at the moment, I know there's a lot of people who don't like Rabiot. And I think the main reason why Rabiot is not getting minutes right now, it's because other players in the midfield are kind of excelling at a faster pace than he is. So he is not getting enough room. And it's always difficult when you're, at the bottom of the pecking order. It's very difficult for you to push yourself above it. I mean, it is a test for him as a professional football player. So yeah, that's nothing new. But I think sometimes when I watch, I think Rabiot makes smarter and more calm decisions. He doesn't make some too naive mistakes that I sometimes see Bentancur doing. And I think if Rabiot would string a couple of games, I think he could also work very well in a combination with McKennie and Arthur at this point. I'm just in this whole midfield-ish, I'm just the happiest for Arthur because I knew that he had in him what he is showing right now. It took him a little bit of time, to reduce some decisions and to kind of start feeling where other players are on the field. And now when we are seeing that this is kind of unfolding, I'm loving what he is giving for us, and I know that he can give a lot more. So at this point, if we have a good, stable McKennie-Arthur combination, I think then the third player that comes in, I think it's going to be not too difficult to just fit. If you have two of the three pieces, functioning as they should, the third one, can always hook onto that. See Pogba at Juve a couple of years ago, basically Same principle.
Yeah. Juve Monamor says we play homes. We have to win to keep putting pressure on Milan and Merda. Yes, indeed. Rodrigo Bentancur, do you think, Daniel, that Arthur's form is because of Bentancur, or is it just because of time, that he needed time to adjust to Serie A?
I just think he needed some game time and some time to get adjusted to the league, to his new teammates. Am I still sold on him playing in his particular position? I don't know. I'd like to see him get a little more freedom up the pitch, because his size, he's not the greatest defensively, although he comes, with his possession and he's got great dribbling, which gets him a lot of trouble. But I feel maybe against some of the bigger teams, maybe in Champions League, he might struggle with that a little bit. That's why I think, again, a real regista would help this team. But I have been impressed with him the past month or so, whatever it's been. He's been our best midfielder. McKennie has been good all season, so kudos to him as well. But as much as I think Bentancur has maybe helped Artur be stabilized, I still think it comes down to Artur and just getting more comfortable with the team and the league.
What an interesting thing Pirlo did, of course, was switching those two around. Bentancur is playing much more deeper now, and Artur playing, as you said, much more freer up the pitch. And this was also the key factor for improving Artur, his abilities, and he wanted himself to play further up the pitch. He suggested this to Pirlo, and Pirlo agreed to this, which is interesting also, that he listens to players and listens to their strengths and where they can be used. So it's interesting to see what happens in the future with Artur, and it looks like he is stabilizing. And of course tomorrow we have Dybala most likely in the squad. I don't, of course, think he will be playing. Maybe 5-minute cameo, which I highly doubt that's going to happen even. Yeah, but we'll see. Sorry?
He'll come off the bench at some point. Ease him back in.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah. What do you think about tomorrow's game, Graeme? Are we going to win this? Simple question.
Yeah, I think we're going to win. We definitely should. I mean, we need to. I mean, we aren't leading the way anymore. We're chasing them. We're chasing Milan, both Milan clubs. So we need to win as many games as possible. And I believe Roma's ahead of us as well. So if we can beat them, then that's another rival toppled. We could possibly overtake them. I haven't looked at the league table right now, but I'm pretty sure if we win, we overtake Roma potentially. So it's definitely a must-win game. But I mean, I was happy with the Arthur signing because originally I saw it as an improvement on Pjanic. I mean, Pjanic was good for us for the first maybe 2 seasons, but I don't know. Again, it was just a strange one. Whatever happened with him. And when you look at the current midfield we've got, Archer's the closest thing we have to a playmaker. I mean, I don't see Ramsey as a playmaker. McKennie certainly not. Good player, nothing wrong with that. And possibly maybe Rabiot or Bentancur, but Archer's the closest thing we have to being a playmaker. So I want to see him start as many games as possible. He seems to be hitting form as well. He very rarely loses possession, so that's an instant starter for me.
Yeah. For a while, we're
Max,
missing players. For a while, we're missing players who have bravery to break lines and go forward. Like in the last 2-3 years, we've been seeing too much back passes, too much, like no midfielder that has this courage to take the ball in his feet and do something with it. It's like, let's go forward. Let's try to break it. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from Arthur. This bravery is exactly what we need.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. Tomorrow there are also rumors, Daniel, that De Ligt will be on the bench. So Chiellini and Bonucci will be starting, and I think alongside Danilo. Do you think it's wise to bench De Ligt, or do you think that Pirlo maybe is thinking of the Merda return leg?
Yeah, I would have liked to see Chiellini and De Ligt start with Danilo. That would have been my preferred 3 with Quadrado probably. But I understand why he's doing it with the game midweek against Inter. I kind of expected it, but I think at some point I'd like to see the Chiellini, De Ligt, and Danilo trio. I think that would probably be our best trio for going forward in some big games.
Yeah. Who do you see on the flanks, Max? Is it Cuadrado and Chiesa, or is it something new?
Well, Cuadrado and Chiesa, I think that seems at this point pretty. I think Cuadrado, with his game, with what he's given to us this year, has kind of put himself in a position to be irreplaceable, because he is just he's providing assists. You can agree with, does he play up to your tastes or not? Does he make sometimes too irrational decisions, goes into dribblings, loses balls? Yes, that does happen. That's what you get in the package with him, and that's just something we need to accept and move on. No point in getting pissed over the same thing over and over again. But, compared to the previous seasons, he's really giving us something this year. And the assists are just pouring like rain. And we need somebody who also has, just like scoring goals, you also need, the confidence for the assist. It also comes from the same place. And this is something that he now, when he goes into a game, he knows that he just can assist anyone. And that's what you need at this point. And I think for sure he's going to do it. He's going to give Cuadrado his place. But the only thing that I don't like in this, I don't like Chiesa on the left. I know that Chiesa, and it's always a consequence of having Cuadrado on the right. They just can't kind of put them all together. So every time Cuadrado is on the right, you put Chiesa on the left. And it doesn't look that good to me. I understand why he does it, because if you have an informed winger, of course you're going to put him, if you can't put him on the right, you'll put him on the left. That's kind of normal. But I love him way more when he is on his natural side. You can just feel that he is, like a fish put back into the water. He's just on his own. And but I'm sure that they're going to, give their best. And I'm really confident of a good result tomorrow. I think we're a better team. I think we're on a good roll. And considering that this is probably one of the heaviest months that we have, also game-wise, I think the guys also understand the significance of the situation we're in, and they're going to really push it to the end.
Question from Gotnaldo. This one's for you, Graeme. Would you sub off Cristiano if Juve have the lead at the 70th minute?
Be careful what you say. Be careful what you say.
Pirlo can get away with subbing him, so I'm not. We've got a big game against Merda coming up, so if we've got a healthy lead, I would take him off and rest for the final 20-15 minutes. You've got Dybala there, so if it all depends on the way the game's going. So let's say, hopefully, okay, I'm not going to say anything because you know me, I jinx games. That's just what I do. But let's say, okay, it's a comfortable game, we're in control, 2-0 up or something like that, 15 minutes to go. I would take Ronaldo off, give him a breather, get Dybala on, get him some minutes, and then you've got the Merda game midweek. So I would sub him if we are having a good game and we have a comfortable lead. But if it's something like 1-0 and our backs are against the wall for whatever reason, then I would have to keep him on until full time. Because, Ronaldo, he's always capable of just pulling something out the bag and getting a goal from nowhere.
Yeah, I can see that Merda just scored. They're currently playing against Fiorentina away, so it's 1-0 to Merda. Thanks for that, Juve Daily. I don't need crappy news on a Friday night. Thank you very much. I'm gonna block your ass. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Yeah. What happens if Cristiano plays crap? He's out of form. He just doesn't work tomorrow, Daniel. Nothing happens. He can't dribble past his guy, and it's 70th minute. It is 0-0. Are you still keeping him on?
I think you have to. Just, you never know. Like Graeme mentioned, he could pull something out of nothing, whether it's a cross, whether it's a strike from 20-25 yards out. He can do it. If we're tied or if we're drawing that late, and I would consider bringing on Dybala with Ronaldo and having all three of them on there to see what they can do. At this point, a draw is really not going to do much for us. You kind of need to win this game. As you know, you don't want to put too much pressure on one game, but Roma, I think, is a point or two ahead of us, and if we win, that puts us ahead and right back into it. So you kind of got to go for the kill for sure. Whether Dybala is completely fit enough to even play 10-15 minutes, I'm not too sure, but it's something to consider. Even Kulusevski, I know he wasn't great against Inter midweek, but he has shown me a few times that he's capable of doing something out of not much, right? Putting in a dangerous ball or taking on someone, which you like to see. So I think you have to leave him on unless we're winning by a fair, comfortable scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, the game against Sampdoria actually showed this, what you both guys are talking about. If we're talking honestly, against Sampdoria, Ronaldo was nowhere. It was not a good game from him. Mm-hmm. But then he at the end, he also gave that beautiful ball to Cuadrado, who assists later. So it's just out of nowhere, a pinpoint pass that just cut everything. And even before that, in the first goal, he had a beautiful 1-2 with Morata that opened up a room for the assist later. So he's constantly a threat. The worst Ronaldo in the world is still a threat, and he's always going to pull one or two defenders on him, and that's something we're sometimes counting on, and that's perfectly okay. So I would keep him on it also.
If everybody is healthy, Max, up front, who would you start? I saw this poll on Twitter the other day. So you have Kulusevski, Cristiano, Morata, Dybala. If everyone is healthy, who would you start with?
Well, my always preferred attack, like by my wishes, if we're talking that everybody is playing well at the moment, sometimes you have to be also realistic. But if everybody was really if Dybala played as we all know that he can play, I would always choose Dybala together with Ronaldo. I think that's the perfect combination of technique and physique and everything. But, of course, Dybala playing as he is, and Morata being a goal scorer that he is for us this year, it's impossible to bench Morata. So at this moment, right now, Morata-Ronaldo is the best forward duo that we have, realistically.
Yeah. Well, Cristiano and Dybala, for sure, they showed that they can play together previously. So why not this season as well? So we'll see. We're waiting for Dybala to kickstart his season, because it's still already February, and we're still waiting. Do you think he will be sold, Graeme? Yeah.
Then now's the time.
Graeme, do you think he will be sold or not?
Sorry?
Do you think he will be sold after this season?
I mean, if he doesn't improve and someone comes in with a good bid, it's very possible. I mean, it feels like management have been trying to sell him for a couple of years now. I mean, we had the whole thing where he almost supposedly went to either Tottenham or Manchester United, and then, he snubbed them. It wasn't the club that snubbed him. I mean, at some point we were trying to trade for Lukaku, which just seemed absurd at the time. And then, he was good last season. I mean, I know we don't really take much stock of it, but, he was an MVP player of the season. And he genuinely did. That was one of the few positives about Sarri's Juventus. Dybala looked like a brilliant player again. I mean, he was flourishing under the tactics and the system. And then, with whatever's happened this season has happened. I mean, I think he had COVID twice, which at the time, okay, so we're talking about, like September. He got COVID twice during the summer, and that's going to take a decent amount of time to recover from. Then he picks up an injury again. That's going to take time to recover from. But as time goes on, you have to start pointing the finger at the player. I mean, we've had occasions in the past. Like 2017, Pavel Nedved literally had to come out and say, "Look, sort your personal life out, because it's affecting your work. It's affecting how you perform on the pitch."
Yeah,
so he's just one of those types of personalities where if something's not going right, if it's contract issues or if it's his personal life, it affects how he performs on the pitch. But when everything clicks into place for Dybala, I mean, he's a phenomenal player. He's just brilliant. But we're yet to see that this season. So if he doesn't start improving, or if Pirlo doesn't think that he fits into his system, then he probably will be sold. I mean, we'll have to get the money from somewhere.
Yeah, Juve's not going to wait forever for him to come back to himself. They're going to have it's going to come to a certain point where it's going to be if. So considering the value of the players that we have right now in our roster, like Dybala is high up there to generate really for the transfer, because obviously this Pogba story is not just another transfer mercato fairy tale, because there is something going on over there. But realistically, you can't bring him in unless you get some money in, and the only player who probably at this point could generate that much money is Dybala. Nobody else. I mean, besides De Ligt, of course, but we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you know why he played so great last season, Graeme? That's because of the kits.
Yeah, how could I forget?
They were such a beauty. Yeah,
it's such a strange one with Dybala. I mean, it's disappointing because he showed so much promise and potential for his first 2 seasons. He came up with big moments in his third season, like against Lazio, Tottenham Hotspur. And then it tailored off when Ronaldo arrived. He peaked again last season under Sarri, and now we're back to square one, apparently.
Yeah, unfortunately. Juve Monamor says he suggests Ronaldo, Morata, and Chiesa threesome up front. There we go. Ronaldo, Morata, Dybala even from Ronaldo. That's interesting. What this basically means that we're going to go with the 4-3-3 then. I'm not sure if that's what Pirlo is all about. But we'll see. It is what it is actually. Well, we have the ball. This is what is going to happen when Cuadrado isn't there. It's going to be Ronaldo, Morata, and Chiesa, because Chiesa is such an offensive guy. So basically we are playing 4-3-3 at times. Yeah. All right, guys. We got to end this very, very soon. But predictions. Let's start with Daniel. Tomorrow, prediction.
Oh, I'm gonna say 3-1 Juve final.
3-1. Who's gonna score?
Funny. I wanted to say the same thing.
Yeah. Who's gonna score? Ooh, I'm gonna say Morata with 1, and I will say I want to say Chiesa gets 1, but I'm leaning towards a brace for Ronaldo. Maybe a late one, like the 88th minute, to seal it a 3-1 victory.
3-1. Yeah, there we go. Max, so you're gonna go with 3-1 as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3-1 as well. Yeah, it's gonna be Morata, Ronaldo, and Chiesa.
Oh, there we go. All Cuadrado assists, I reckon. Perhaps. Graeme.
I'm going to go 2-0. It's going to be Chiesa and Ronaldo. And it's the second goal is going to be
a clean sheet. Wow.
I know. It's risky.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 2-1, actually. A bit more dangerous, a bit more open and crazy. I mean,
Roman, you have to remember, I've got Szczesny in my fantasy team. I need clean sheets.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I still banking on Cristiano scoring for me, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. De Ligt will score, says Chuck. Well, De Ligt will start on the bench most likely. So if he does score, it'll be a good bet. Good bet. And Bernardeschi hat-trick. There we go.
God knows he needs one.
Oh, he needs something.
Bernardeschi couldn't make a hat-trick even if you gave him a hat and a trick.
Poor guy.
Yeah. So yeah, it is such a depressing way of ending this therapy session with Bernardeschi slander. There we go. All right, guys. Listen, it's been great fun. Enjoyed ourselves. I hope you did as well. Of course, like this video, of course, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining to Rodrigo Bentancur himself, all the way from Torino. And Max, of course, a pleasure, all the way from Germany, and Graeme from Scotland. So we are everywhere. Juventini everywhere, all over the world. So there we go. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, and we'll see you tomorrow for the sessions during the Juventus against Roma, and next week for Juve Therapy Session. Fino alla fine, of course, and Forza Juve.